has been an interesting week, and the week just started. So I hope everyone's doing well. I'm starting my live stream like an hour before I normally do on a Tuesday. Actually, maybe 2 hours. Sometimes I start at 5. Definitely a busy week. It's been productive, so I guess I shouldn't complain too much. All right, there we go. Live chat. Because I was not seeing my live chat. And hey, Nanya, what's going on? Are you guys hot over there? Okay, 2 Texans in the house. We're 91 degrees out west. What temperature are y'all at? Is the whole state now baking, or is it just us? Hello, Lucky. Hey, Coffee, what's going on? Coffee's up north, so I know you're about 10 degrees cooler than we are here. It was 45 this morning. It's 91 now. Oh, you're chilly at 76. No, well, my truck says 99, but that's a lie. We're at 91 according to my Apple Watch. I don't know. It depends who you believe, right? Florida's 83. That's nice. And who's that? Cassandra, 40. Well, I'm glad everyone's out there. I hope y'all are doing well. Today was one of those days that I had 3 different lunches, or sorry, 3 different meetings, all scheduled at 2. And I was literally on Teams jumping from call to call, and I absolutely screwed at least one of those meetings up because I kept popping in and out. And they're like, what the hell are you doing? So then I got scolded by someone. The boss thought it was pretty funny, but someone else was like, you're messing with my meeting. So I'm like, fine, I won't come back. So I didn't come back to that meeting. If he wants to be a sphincter, then he can have his meeting by himself. I don't need to be and deal with his shit. But anyway, oh yeah, I'm all sorts of salty today, so I'm trying to behave on the live stream. Apparently referring to someone as a sphincter or an anus in a meeting is not nice either. Hey, Wolfgang. Hey, Prepping by Faith. Hello. So I'm trying not to curse on the meetings when people do dumb things. So I make up new obscenities, and which are technically not really obscene. Like a rectum is just a butthole, but yeah, it's a scientific word, but they didn't like that. So it's frowned upon in the meeting. It's like, thou shalt not say rectum in the meeting. And in the meantime, one of my bosses is Canadian, and he's got a raunchy sense of humor. So I can see him in the other office doing this. Try not to laugh. Yeah, I am. I'm bobblehead. I got the freaking cameras going. Bobblehead is one I've used, though. Hey, Joe. Hey, Tia. What's going on? Creative Redundancy. How you doing? Suburban Hillbilly. Hello. Pendejos is a good to go. There you go. So, yeah, well, the problem is some of the bosses speak Spanish, too. So they're like, stop using obscenities in another language. That's a party foul. So I gotta... The one problem with a multicultural company is people understand what I'm saying, and it's like, But in any case, it's been a day. So I'll tell you what, it went from really cold to windy to very hot out here. And I don't know, people don't know how to dress, and that's a good lesson for preppers, is bring layers. Because this morning it was like 45. It was chilly out here. I mean, not cold, but it was chilly. You don't walk out with a t-shirt and you'd be like, oh, awaken. And now it's 91 Fahrenheit. And so I have this vest. I walked out of a meeting with this vest. I'm like, holy crap, it's hot in this thing. And I looked at my watch, it's 91. So it's been an interesting day. Joe, my fellow hostile. Hey, Merkel, what's going on? Glenn, I think I see Glenn there. I may have missed a few of you guys. I'm trying not to go and play texts and go have a wreck. I figure you guys would understand. Why are you driving 15 miles an hour? It's a 45 lane. This person's doing 23. Oh, no, now we're at 28. Okay, people like you are why other people have car accidents. You and the dingus that's scoring 95. So what? This person clearly does not understand speed limits. Oh, you're one of those special needs drivers. I'm gonna go over here because I don't like you. That's another one. Don't call other people special needs in a meeting. Because two of us started cursing because we were just screwing with each other. And hey, Jeep girl, the boss was like, hey, you guys shouldn't be cussing at each other. And we were just horsing around, right? So, I mean, imagine like me and Joe Morgan and Wolfgang all in a conference call. We'd be like, bad words. And then other people came in and the boss was like, cut it out, quit it. Yeah, it's a special. Yeah, it's special. So, I said, yeah, that guy, this is one of the special needs engineers. And then the boss is like, that's not much better than what you were saying before. Severe sarcasm is still not nice. So, no, that's true. Well, but, I could be the United States of unemployed, too. I'm trying to avoid that. And my boss is a nice guy, so I don't want him to get in trouble because I'm a smart ass. So, although he's had his own moments. But at my point in my career, I'm very creative about how I express things. So 99% of the time I get away with it and make my point, but every now and then I get busted because I get a little too rambunctious in a call and they're like, okay, you're just being a shit now. So sometimes there's value to being the shit in the meeting. You have to play devil's advocate every now and then because people ask for crazy things that are not practical. So folks, I saw something in the news and it actually got my attention. And I don't know if you guys have seen it because I haven't seen many people talk about it. But I'm thinking to myself, man, this would be a really good or bad lesson depending on how you look at it. But have you guys seen what's happening in the Sudan right now? In the nation Sudan. Not the general region, but the actual area. Because there's some, man, that's an SHTF, like a bad one. That's why I exclusively work for myself. Yeah, not a bad thing. I mean, they pay me really well, but sometimes I just say bad words. My old man was a legendary swear. My dad would, but he'd do it in Spanglish, and it would absolutely mess the kids up because we didn't know what he was saying half the time. We learned more later. I haven't heard. Okay, so the Sudan is having what is really an insurrection. Now, everyone's like, oh, there was an insurrection in the capital. No, that was a riot of angry people in the capital. It just happened to be at the capital. Had that happened anywhere else, it would have been a riot. But let's just say, okay, that was kind of an insurrection because they were angry at Congress. That was a riot. This is an insurrection, guys, and it's bad. So imagine this. I'm gonna put it in terms of like the U.S. and Canada, Appalachian American. Imagine if the National Guard of every state in the middle of the country said, you know what, to the federal government, we're our own country. The feds said no and sent the federal troops, and the National Guard and the militias then fought the federal troops and the FBI and everyone in an open battlefield, like literally a war. That is what's happening in Sudan right now. It's bad. So basically the paramilitaries, Joe's his own country. You know what? Joe would come out to the cops and be like, I'm my own country. And they'd be like, I don't even want to mess with you, dude. Just, that's fine. Be your own country over there. That, like, if I were a cop and Joe came up and said that, I'd be like, that's fine. Go be your country over there. You're good. I'm done. Take your booze, go sit over there. Hell, the cop might be like, you know what, I'm going to sit with your country and go have a drink. Thank you, Lucky. So basically, they have what's called the paras, or the paramilitary, who is basically like their National Guard. And their National Guard and the commanders and some politicians, I'm taking this off, I'm dying here, actually decided that they didn't like the federal government, so they revolted. And so the federal troops are fighting the militia and the National Guard in the streets of the country, in all the major towns and cities. So the federal troops got their hands on the Air Force, right? So they got the jets in the air, but then these paramilitaries broke into the armories and stole the anti-aircraft weapons. And they're shooting down the federal planes as they show up. And there been reports, the news guy who's there literally is like in all body armor. Like, remember Iraq early in the war with body armor, and the guy's like half in a bunker, like, I can't stick my head out because there's like, and you can hear the ch-ch-ch in the background. That's literally an insurrection. So when we see all these little whiny people like, there was an insurrection, no, there was an angry riot in the Capitol. These folks, cops always grab their gun, talk to their shoulder, saying things like, she's hostile. Well, actually, Joe, it's like 2 or 3 sides right now. It's really bad. And granted, I don't know the history. Like, I don't know why these people are so pissed off. I'm sure they have plenty of reasons to be. I know we do. But all these people are like, oh, it's an insurrection, and you guys are treasonous. No, they have no idea what an insurrection is. Remember South Africa during COVID, where they were attacking all the food warehouses and burning them down? And it was so bad that the police in the towns were going to the citizens and saying, hey, we're going to have to just make our own militia in the town. And they were using trucks to block their towns because the cops couldn't control it. And so the citizens and the cops together protected each individual town because they basically had lost control of the country for 2 months. That's what's happening in Sudan, but it's 2 military sides, and it's bad. So I was watching some early articles. I was on actually Twitter, kind of catching little bits of people posting shit. It's so confused now that the militia and the federal troops, or the National Guard, whatever they are, they're fighting each other. Mind you, both are trained, right? So there's 2 military groups fighting. And the civilians don't know where to go, right? Because, like, they don't know what side is who. So they're getting caught in the crossfires, and they're shooting up people in the street because, like, a guy came out in his truck and was trying to drive out of the town and went toward one of the sides who thought he was a Unabomber or something. So they shot up his car and they killed the guy. So, this is a really good example of a true insurrection. I mean, this is that's some bad juju when you think about it. If honestly, I don't think people in the US would know how to handle that if that broke out here. And prepping by faith, that's a good point, right? Who's on your side? Who's not on your side? Because you figure here in the States, you have the National Guard, right? You have the state. A lot of states since 9/11 have reinstituted the state defense forces or state guards, which would report to the governor, not to the president. And then you have the federal forces, and there's no guarantee all of them will be on the same side. Like, that would be a mess. You wouldn't know who your friends were. And if ever there was an example of they're all downrange, better safe than sorry. Yeah. If you wanted to see a real example of an SHTF, I mean, not a riot, not an economic issue, like a full-blown collapse of the country, Sudan's experiencing it right now, and it's pretty bad. Like I said, the snippets I've seen, the Red Cross doesn't know where to go. Like, the Red Cross showed up and they're like, we don't know who to help. We don't know, like, what's safe, because they tried to set up a camp, and one side decided to fire on the Red Cross because they thought it was a base camp for the other people. Yeah, and he's absolutely right. See, in a case like that, you'd be on your own, or it would be, I think it would break up. You'd wind up having pioneer era law, where like each county would be like, you know what, the county sheriff, like in Texas, and Lucky could speak to this as well, or those of you in Texas, the county judge and the sheriff constitutionally and in the state have a lot of power. And I could see like West Texas, like the 4 or 5 counties out here going, you know what, we're our own safe zone. If you're not a resident here, you're locked out. And call up their own guard units and their own posse and go, all right, we're swearing everyone in, and just lock down their own area. And that's might be what it ultimately comes to for these folks, which is what happened in South Africa. So these kind of situations, they're bad. And I mean, we can learn a lot. So I'm going to be watching how this plays out in Sudan, because that's a really good real life example, much like South Africa was last year, of what can happen if things come apart. Because a lot of people think, oh, there'll be gangs in the street. Yeah, there'll be gangs, and I'm sure that's a factor, like criminal gangs. But you have the National Guard or their paramilitary, you have the full-time military. Well, and Glenn, to that point, Joe, I challenge you to a duel. I saw that. And guys, I would encourage you, especially those of you content creators, go look at this. All of you should look at it. Try to go on Twitter. And I have a Twitter account more as a news feed, right? Because a lot of it is gibberish and angry shit. But if you search certain things, you can find people real timing and streaming stuff. This will be a great example of. Let me know if you guys can see me. And let me know if I'm back. I look like I'm back, but I can't help. EMP. There you go. Still frozen? Okay, thank you, Creative. Yeah, it's a dead zone. I know it's there. That's why I was trying to like get through that light real quick, because there are multiple underpasses and I get cut off every time I'm there. So one thing, going back to what I was saying, a few things I took away from this. One, know your area. The reporter was pointing out that there were a lot of people doing business in the capital who weren't familiar with the area, and they were hiding in the hotels. Most hotels are big targets, right? They're big buildings, and it's typically, hey Loretta, it's typically where you're gonna attract bullets to big vehicles and big buildings.